Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Shack. Now, with everything going on in the world of Commodore over the past couple of months, lots of you on my channel, other channels, Reddit, and the whole of Tinternet it seems, is asking, yeah with the Commodore 64, but will we be getting a new Commodore Amiga? Well, the answer to that is, okay, here's the full story. I think it's a bit complicated. I'd like to take a moment to thank the sponsor for the channel, PCBWay. For retro computing enthusiasts like us, they offer everything we need to keep our old machines going and build cool new stuff too. From PCB design to fabrication, CNC machining and 3D printing through to turnkey solutions, they're fast, affordable and provide amazing quality. And at a starting price of only $5 for PCBs, an assembly from only $29, it's friendly on the wallet too. They're our official sponsor, keeping our soldering irons hot and our tea towels fancy. Now, on with the show. Now, when you hear the word Amiga, you'll probably picture amazing graphics, 4-channel stereo sound and proper multitasking before the IBM PC could even spell it. And you might think of it as a Commodore Amiga. After all, it was for a while. But the name Amiga significantly predates Commodore's involvement and in fact originated at a completely different company and survived Commodore's collapse to become an independent icon in its own right. Amiga has endured royalty battles, courtroom shenanigans, retro emulators aplenty, and even a mini console reboot. Meanwhile, the Commodore brand as we know is on its own interesting journey. In 1982, Jay Miner, chipset genius behind Atari's 2600 and 8-bit line, worked at a peripherals company, Hi-Toro, on a secret 68,000 base computer and game system codename Lorraine. Hi-Toro rebranded as Amiga Corporation, and that name was chosen for friendliness and alphabetical advantage. And by 1984, Amiga had demoed their custom chips, Agnes, Denise, Paula, at CES, but funding was perilously low. By 1984, Amiga accepted a $500,000 loan from Atari secured against their chip designs. But Commodore intervened days before repayment was due, offering around $4 million and snatched Amiga from Atari's grasp. Atari sued, but it was to no avail. Amiga had become part of Commodore. In 1985, Commodore released the Amiga 1000, commonly branded as the Amiga from Commodore. It was a hit, with sleek styling and the now iconic rainbow checkmark logo. It gained fans around the world and secured a place in computing history for the Amiga name. Then came the Amiga 500, 2000, 3000, all global hits and especially beloved across Europe. On April 26, 1994, Commodore shut the Amiga division. 3 days later, on April the 29th, they declared bankruptcy. But Amiga survived. Escom AG bought the assets, established Amiga Technologies GmbH, re-released the A1200 and A4000T, and even developed the Walker prototype. From this point on, Amiga and Commodore went their separate legal ways. After Escom's collapse in 1996, Gateway 2000 acquired Amiga in 1997. They proposed the Amiga MCC, a multimedia console hybrid, but nothing shipped. In 2000, Gateway sold the IP to Amino Development, which renamed itself Amiga Inc. and focused on licensing and software. Throughout the 2000s, Amiga became about software and preservation. Hyperion Entertainment developed Amiga OS4 under license. Meanwhile, Cloanto launched Amiga Forever in 1997, a legal emulator suite bundling ROMs, Workbench and historical media for modern PCs and later Android and Chrome. Thus, post-1994, Amiga clearly stood apart from Commodore, managed by various legal entities. In 2019, Cloanto acquired Amiga Inc.'s assets, consolidating much of the Amiga IP. Hyperion continued distributing Amiga OS 4, sparking a few legal battles. On June 12, 2025, the Ninth Circuit Court reinstated parts of Cloanto's infringement claims, highlighting continued fragmentation of Amiga IP. In 2022, Retro Games launched the A500 Mini, a stylish 10x7x3 inch plug-and-play console emulating the Amiga 500 and 1200. It's got 25 pre-installed games and USB loading capabilities and is a very nice little thing. The package includes a mouse and gamepad, but the keyboard unfortunately doesn't work. But it is a modern homage to the Amiga, but without Commodore's involvement. As we mentioned in our last episode, in July 2025, fellow YouTuber and retro tech advocate Christian Peri Fractic Simpson reportedly completed the purchase of Commodore Corporation BV, the Dutch company holding the Commodore trademark. He's enlisted veteran Commodore engineers like Bill Hurd and Albert Charpentier for technical guidance. Although not everyone agrees, Commodore Industries SRL issued a statement denying the legitimacy of Peri Fractic's claims and asserting they maintain legal trademark rights and will continue their own Commodore brand strategy. So, is it possible we'll ever see an official Commodore Amiga? Well, yes, it's possible in a purely legal/financial sense, but it's not straightforward, and there are several big obstacles that make it far from certain. The Amiga name, trademarks and most associated intellectual property are currently held by Amiga Corporation, which is owned by Cloanto, an Italian-founded US-based preservation and software company. Cloanto has spent decades building Amiga Forever and acquiring rights from earlier holders, so they've been quite protective of the brand. Provided any claims to the contrary, Peri Fractic's new Commodore entity could be in a position to theoretically buy other retro computing brands, including Amiga, if the owners were willing to sell. Cloanto has positioned itself as a steward of Amiga heritage. Selling to a new Commodore entity might be seen as giving up on that mission, something they may resist unless it aligned with their vision. Any merger of IP would require careful legal consolidation and trademark harmonisation, and while a buyout price might be affordable for a motivated Commodore, the value Cloanto places on Amiga could be as much about stewardship as money. But from a retro marketing perspective, reuniting Commodore and Amiga would be hugely symbolic and commercially attractive. For mini consoles, full-size consoles, emulation platforms, merch, and even new hardware. If the new Commodore venture proves successful and develops a reputation for authenticity and community trust, Cloanto might one day see value in collaboration or sale. So yes, it's possible that new Commodore might buy Amiga, but only if Cloanto were willing to sell, and only after some legal and strategic hurdles are cleared. In the short term, a licensing partnership is more likely than an outright purchase either way. As someone once said, "You can have my Amiga when you pry it from my cold, dead hands." 40 years on, Amiga still means friendship, and perhaps Commodore, revived again, shows just how powerful that legacy still is. See, told you it was, as our American friends might say, a little complex. And I have to say that some of this is still shrouded in a little mystery and intrigue. For legal reasons, I've got to say that this is my interpretation of the past and current situations. I've added some references in the video description, but please do your own research before drawing your own conclusions. Please like the video if you like the video, and please subscribe to the channel. I've got my sights on that 40k target for now and can get there with your help. Okay, enough from me, back to something a little more light-hearted next time, and until that next time in the shack, it's goodbye from me.